How do you convert a let-only landlord to fully managed? Today, I'm joined by Sally Lawson, who I consider is the best letting agency guru in the UK, if not the world. Sally, we've all been there. I'm a let-only landlord. I'm not giving you my property, but I've heard multiple stories from many letting agents saying that you've taught them how to do it. How the hell do you do it? Talk to me.
Magic, Chris.
Is it voodoo?
It's voodoo. We hypnotize them. No, it's not. Okay, so I think the key here is timing. This is the key thing. You've got to get them at a place where they need you. And sometimes they'll never get there by themselves. So if you remember, it's timing and that you need to help them to get there. So what do I mean by timing? What do I mean by getting them there? All right, most landlords realize or think that they know everything. Now, I'll give you a little bit of a story. I've been running landlord seminars, now webinars, since 1997. And I always like to have a little bit of fun with them because they all seem to come in like, yes, I've been a landlord for decades, usual sort of stuff. So I me and Dawn, who's my co-director, she's absolutely legal genius as well. We'd have these little rant-offs and we'd name about 50 pieces of legislation in front of them, like, Consumer Protection Act, Cost of Leases Act and all that sort of stuff. We just name them all. And then we go, right, we have a little competition. Here's a bottle of champagne to the person who can name the most pieces of legislation. This is a room of 50 landlords. The most I ever had, Chris, in 20 odd years was 7. The landlord can name only 7 pieces of legislation. Now, you and I both know there's at least 170 pieces of legislation they have to abide by, which means they're non-compliant. And so if you can get them at the right time when they've got an issue, whether they know about that issue or not, and then you make them realize they have the issue, training, coaching, whatever the case may be, we use webinars, all of a sudden you've got the timing and you've got the mechanism to actually convert them.
So you're not trying to sell them it, you're showing them the problem and getting them to buy it.
The selling is virtually non-existent.
Well, it isn't. They're buying it. They're buying a solution.
They go from a point of, I don't need you, to, can you help me? And that's where you've got to go. And so really that comes from education. So we use webinars, as we say. Every 12 weeks we do a webinar. We have anything between 200 and 400 landlords come on every webinar that we do. They're totally free to attend. They run for about an hour and a half, 90 minutes. It's just pure legislation. We'll talk about whatever the latest thing is. I mean, like selective licensing in Liverpool was one that we did. The rental reforms, obviously that's gone now. Whatever is the current thing we talk about, they turn up in their droves, they watch and they sit there thinking they're okay. And it just takes one little thing that makes them realize, I'm falling foul of that. And then they panic. And of course, all the way through the webinar, you're seeing, hey, if you're worried about any of this stuff, book a call with me, book a call with me, book a call with me. About 15% of the people that attend will book a call with you. And it's usually a, can you help me call. It's a very different place to be. And so that's the answer, timing and problem.
What do you do with the other 85%? The people that don't sign up, do you still put them in a list and work them and get them on the next webinar?
Yeah, so I think sometimes it takes 2 or 3 or 4 webinars for people to actually click.
And I bet you a pound to a penny, many of the webinars, the guts of it might be the same, but that doesn't matter because you have to hear it a number of times, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and also they're in a different place. They've just had that tenant that did something, or they've just done X, Y, Z, so sometimes it's not necessarily your content, it's the place they are. They will hear different things, even if it's the same presentation. Although we do always try to change the headlines and change the topic a little bit. Legislation's a legislation. You can only shift it a little bit. In answer to your question, the 85%, it's really important that as any business owner, I don't care who you are, you need to have a CRM system of prospects. So all these people need to go onto a database. And once they've signed up for your webinar, whether they attend or they don't, you need to be keeping in touch with them, nurturing them, inviting them to the next webinar, definitely. And just, eventually they will come through. And also remember as well, with every webinar, most webinar software, we use Webinar Jam. You can use GoToWebinar, Zoom Webinar, all sorts of different types of software you can use. Most of them will allow you to turn that webinar into an evergreen webinar with a little click of a button. That evergreen webinar, you can then say, hey, you missed the webinar. So the ones that didn't turn up and the ones that didn't click, you say, hey, you missed the webinar. Maybe you want a recap. Here's a replay. Go and watch. It's going to be live for the next 3 weeks. And so you can push people back to the replay as well. We tend to find that 50% of the no-shows watch the replay. So if you had 400 people booked, 200 turn up, another 100 will watch the replay. And again, 15% of those will click.
And you could almost use some of that content on social media, again, to funnel them through.
Absolutely. We have and we do. You break it down to little videos, you send it out to your email database, keep them warm, keep nurturing. Hey, key point Dawn shared on Wednesday about such and such. Check it out here. Absolutely. And you can get it transcribed.
Yes, you can.
Mm.
And turn that into social media posts.
Yes, and blogs and posts and all sorts of different things.
Sounds like hard work though.
Oh, well, yes, of course. Yes, it is. It requires some
No,
work.
but actually it isn't, because you can upload a video to YouTube and it will transcribe it free of charge in 20 minutes.
But let's just talk about work for a second, because that webinar, people say, oh no, oh, it's webinar. You mentioned webinar, people go, oh. But let's just talk about this, right? Letting agents are going to landlords' houses and spending an hour and a half talking to one landlord about stuff. When you think about your commodity as time, would you rather spend 1.5 hours talking to one landlord or 1.5 hours talking to 400 of your competitors' landlords?
Because they're not doing any of this stuff, are they?
When you talk about work, this individual one-to-one sounds like a lot of work to me. That is a lot of time out of the office, a lot of time away from home, all that sort of stuff, doing that. This is 1 hour from your bedroom doing a webinar.
But I don't
It's
like
less
the way I
work.
look on video, and I don't like the way I sound.
Zoom has amazing filters. They could make you look 21 again, Chris. You don't even have to have the camera on. I mean, when I've had some of my staff come through and they were really nervous about the camera, I said, well, do it with the camera off then. It still works.
Yeah, because you can have like slides and stuff like that, can't
Of course you can, yeah.
And even if you are there, you're in the corner really small anyway. So, get over your ego and get out there.
Just do it.
I find it fascinating that we don't worry about talking to someone face to face, but when it goes on a webinar, it's, oh my God.
And face to face, they can see everything, so yeah.
So there you go. The magic thing of converting let-only landlords is to educate them and get them at the right time so they come to you as opposed to you go to them.
And then they'll just eat out of your hand. And we're talking big portfolio takeovers, 10, 20 properties at a time. It's magic.
Thank you for your time today, Sally.
Thank you.